Hey there, everybody. It's your boy Choppadong. It is Friday afternoon. We're going to do the two tight player pool. We're going to jump on Fanduel and we're going to do Draftkings all at once. No nonsense, no BS. Let's just dive in, cut the fluff, and go. The only part of the fluff that I will add in is yesterday we attempted something that we've seen a study on. 80% of the time, you can find the winning stack for tournaments if you knock out every team under a 3.5 or over a 5. That's probably close. And look at the Brewers. Look at this game. Trash game. If you come over here looking over a 5 and under a 3.5, under a 3.5, over a 5, under a 3.5. And so now if I eliminate those teams right there, up over a 5 in Toronto, in theory, 80% of the time, the GPP winning stacks are coming from these remaining teams. So do with that what you will. It leads to fading Coors a lot, and last night it was a disaster. But that, 80% of the time means 20% of the time we're going to be wrong. That, the winning stack is going to come from the teams we cross off the list. So that is a little bit of a boom or bust gambler's way to go about things. But again, it does work. I'm going to try it again tonight. I tried it last night. Out of 100 lineups on Fanduel, only 3 cashed. So obviously did not work well when Atlanta went off and Cincinnati had a good game, and so did Colorado to a certain degree had a good game. What we need is those teams to fail, and we need something to come from somewhere else. And when it does, we've got a little bit higher concentration there than elsewhere. So if you want more tips on that particular philosophy, you need to become a VIP at dfsarmy.com. Really, really simple. All sports, all tools, everything you could possibly ask for, including coaching, discussion back and forth, small groups, one-on-one. Really, however you want to get better at the game, we can help you get there. dfsarmy.com. That's obviously who sponsors this video. So let's jump in. Optimal mode, 2 unique players, 5 lineups. We're just doing this really, really easy off the top. Scrolling down the projected ownerships, click that column there, bring the big numbers to the top, uncheck everybody, and then go position by position and check back who carries the biggest ownership. See, 35%, probably Garrett Cole for cash games. But why is there a cheaper guy getting a lot of ownership? That is people that are taking on Coors. That's essentially what that is. So on those Coors slates, you're going to find a cheaper pitcher a lot of times up there. And Corbin Burnes is a great single entry pivot, but for a cash game, you're looking at what, 3.5 to 1 playing Garrett Cole. You should probably just roll with Garrett Cole and be done with it. Catcher, we got a couple that make some sense. Darno had a big game last night. Hope you played him. We literally said last night he was the only cash game catcher on Draftkings that you should be using. And what do you do? Hit 2 bombs? Kirk, maybe tonight. You can't predict these things. You don't know when these guys are going to go off. You just know that this methodology puts you in the right place an awful lot of the time. Matt Carpenter is still pretty cheap on Fanduel. I don't know if I would take a chance on him in a cash game per se until he shows me that he can get on base more often like he used to, as opposed to now. He's only got 3 hits for his short stint in New York. Granted, they're all bombs, but that's not a cash game player. That's a Joey Gallo. And Matt Carpenter is not Joey Gallo. But that said, we can jump through these positions and we can eliminate these chances. What I really am looking forward to is seeing if I can get only 3 bats from these teams. It looks like we're going to see a lot of Toronto, a lot of New York, and a lot of Atlanta tonight for cash games. And that's fine. I just want to break it up so I'm not completely beholden to one offense, because that becomes too boom or bust for cash games. Gleyber Torres is pulling some ownership. Espino maybe. We'll throw him in there just because he's cheap and because it gives us a little bit of access outside of Atlanta and Coors. If it takes Atlanta anyway, we're just going to have to make some alterations as we go. Matt Chapman, DJ LeMahieu is usually pretty good. I would check his game logs, make sure he's running hot, but he's usually pretty good cash game play. Hey, good to see Rosario lead the list out in Cleveland, because that should, especially with a 4.16 fantasy point per dollar, that should get us off Atlanta, Toronto, whatever. Ernie Clement in the 6th hole. All right, it's cheap again. These are not the worst things, but he's not getting any ownership. I should remove him. He's only getting 7%. There's a big drop off between that 16% and that 7%. That's where I can stop. I can say that other one is too low owned. It's not going to affect me in cash games one way or the other, which is why we kind of play with that ownership and use the high owned guys. Joey Gallo again, 25% in cash stinks because I don't like using him. I fade him in cash games a lot. But tonight might be one of those nights where he's high enough owned that if he does hit a home run, you're going to hate life. It's going to make it harder for you to cash. So you might as well include him, and you might as well go up with everybody or down with everybody because you can still make the cash elsewhere if he has a bad game. Marcell Ozuna should be included. Probably, I don't know if you can really use him or not. Aaron Judge, yes, of course. Teoscar Hernandez hit a home run last night. George Springer leading off is usually a pretty good play. You want to check that Q tag and make sure. Jesse Winker just ain't doing it, man. Maybe he had a good game last night. I don't remember exactly what I saw. Bryce Harper, Dalton Varsho, and then that break down to 12 to 9. So, I'm starting off in the 20s, and then this would be a break point, but I don't want only 3 outfielders. I want a few more outfielders. So I'll come down here, and this could be another break point between Teoscar and George, but George is a decent play because he's a leadoff hitter, gets a lot of at-bats, and that brings these other guys kind of into play too. You can get, and there's just not much of a difference between Varsho at 12% and Springer at 14%. I'm looking for a bigger drop-off. It's a feel thing. That's all it is. It's a feel thing. So now you come down here, and you've got your optimized lineups. You got 5 of them kicking. You're using all Garrett Cole, all Matt Carpenter, which is interesting, all Rosario, all Joey Gallo. These guys are just cheap, and they're picking up ownership. So there's your 3 bats. There's 2 Yankees, 2 Braves, a Philly, a Blue Jay, an Indian or Guardian, whatever the heck you want to call them now, and Garrett Cole. 3 Braves. 3 is my max, so that lineup's okay. There's 3 Torontos, 2 Yankees. That one's okay. 3 Toronto, 2 Yankees. That one's okay. We're looking at these types of lineups just to make sure that we're building the right types. If I saw 4 from a particular team, I probably would not use that lineup. So any of these are probably okay. If you wanted to, you could even come down and do 3 unique players, and you could run it again, and then you could really look and see how it shook things up. It's going to be largely the same. It's not pulling 4 from one particular team tonight. That's good. Minimal adjustments needed. If you don't like Rosario, instead you like somebody else, you click those little arrows, see what options you have. Come back up here with Matt Olson, see what options you have. You could use Guerrero, you could use Kirk at first base, D'Arnaud if you want, based on the way you think, because these guys are all getting ownership. They're all fine for cash games most of the time. Now, let's go over to Draftkings and let's see how things change. What is it, 7.5 minute mark? Just so people know, so we can tell them where, if they're looking for Draftkings information, where they should jump into the video. Once again, the implied run totals didn't change, so if you're going to play the implied run total game like I played yesterday, at your own risk, be my guest. Tournament mode for tournament lineups, optimal mode for cash game lineups. Let's go ahead and use 3 unique players and really shake stuff up a little bit. Projected ownership, once again, bring all the big numbers to the top. Uncheck everybody. Now we're definitely going to need more than probably even 2 pitchers, and there come Eovaldi, McClanahan, Corbin Burns. Garrett Cole's getting the ownership. Eovaldi looks like the second man in, which is interesting. We didn't use him on Fanduel. We used, who was the other guy over on Fanduel as the second man in. But there's McClanahan and Burns and Kikuchi. These guys are all cash game by Eflin, cash game viable. And now look at the big drop off between 20% and 8%. See, I don't need any of these guys. They might be in great places, and they might make for great GPP pitchers with some upside if they've got it, whatever. But honestly, don't need them for cash games. You're taking an awful lot of risk in a cash game by including them. So we can let the optimizer pick the guys that it likes with the salaries there because they're all garnering some ownership. D'Arnaud, again, is the guy. Varsho, maybe. Probably don't even need him at a 2-to-1. It's a big drop-off there. Just leave the catcher locked in. Matt Olson, again. Vlad Guerrero, Anthony Rizzo, Owen Miller. Owen Miller, I think, had a decent game yesterday, but whatever. We don't need Matt Carpenter over on DraftKings. It's going to be a lot of people on Matt Olson. Probably cheaper than FanDuel, and that's probably why. 4,700 is not that cheap, so I don't know. Just for some flexibility, we'll include Guerrero just because. I want to get off those Braves. I'm going to have a hard time getting off those Braves. I'm going to include both of these Indians just because, and I'm calling them Indians. I don't care what anybody says. Not maybe politically correct anymore, but cancel this. Austin Riley, 30%, probably the guy you're looking for. Clement Ramirez. Ramirez is always a good cash game play. We can go ahead and include him. Devers, a good cash game play. We can go ahead and include him. Even though they're a little bit lower owned, they're not bad plays per se. They're just a little bit risky tonight because of that cash scenario. But I got to get off those Braves. I'm seeing Braves everywhere. Then we're getting way too low owned in the 4% range to do any damage. These guys are the guys you're going to want to stick with. You can contemplate a Bo Bichette if you want, but Ozuna, chalk in the outfield is very interesting. Adam Duvall, another one like a Joey Gallo type. He's very boomer bust. It has not been good lately, but a lot of people are using him for salary relief and the fact that he can hit a bomb. But he's fundamentally unsound for cash game lineups. First of all, he's a boomer bust guy, strikeouts or home run. And he's in the bottom of the order. We don't want those bottom of the order guys. I'm just going to say that's bad chalk. And we're just going to leave him alone. Hope he doesn't hit a bomb tonight. Teoscar, George Springer. Again, there's old Joey Gallo. Miles Straw leading off. Bryce Harper, typically a cash game guy. There's your Ohtani. Buxton's been bad lately. Now, I have to take the projections and I have to change them in one little area. It doesn't matter. Change it by 0.01 points. It doesn't matter up or down. It didn't change the projections for squat. I guess I need to do somebody other than Duvall because when he's unchecked here, it doesn't take that change into consideration. It only wants me to change guys that I'm using. 5 lineups here, a lot of Braves. Lots of Braves, 5 Braves. I would make a swap. There's 3. 3 Braves, 3 Toronto Blue Jays, 2. Now, by the book, this is a better lineup. Now, is it actually a better lineup? I don't know. You're going to have to go do the research and game log hunt and see, should you be on all of those Braves? I'm going to say no. This is a 5-2 tournament type of stack. Great for tournaments and such. But if those Braves don't score tonight, half your lineup is just complete dirt. And that is not going to get you into the cash of a 50-50 double up, head-to-heads, stuff like that. The reason you want to avoid a scenario like that, again, is because you put all of your eggs in one basket. And if you do that, the reward just isn't there. You're only turning $1 into $2 or 5 into 10 or whatever. And that's not enough reward to pay you for the risk you're taking, for the chances of this backfiring on you in a sport like baseball. It's just not good. So you'd rather have a lineup like this. It's a little bit more balanced. That way, if the Braves fall short, maybe Toronto or Cleveland, pick up the slack for you and get you into that cash. It's a little bit better chance at getting into the lower ends of the cash spectrum. You're not trying to win first place in a 100-man 50-50 because, again, the reward just doesn't justify taking the risk to get all the way up that leaderboard. You're going to want to stay 30th place is fine because 30th place pays the same as 18th place, which honestly pays the same as 49th place. It just doesn't matter as long as you get over that 49th spot. There's 4 bats. I would keep it to 3, but this is not, I guess, the worst in the world. There's 4 bats again. So it's still producing some pretty decent lineups. 4x3x2 type stacks are pretty nasty. There's your 3rd Toronto Blue Jay guy. I guess he's the pitcher. But so you get the idea. And you see how simple this is to set up. And you see how little research we've done. These days, with projected ownerships, the research has been done for you. You're using the industry ownership markers as the industry knows who's going to be using what player. And how does it know that? Because however it searches it, but other people in the world are doing the research that are landing them on these obvious plays, and now we're just pointing it out to you and showing you how easy it is to do monkey see, monkey do for cash games. Again, it's not a tournament where we're trying to be different. We don't care about being different in these cash games. We just want to make the smart, fundamental, safe, textbook plays and move on. That gives us our best chance at cashing. And if you're wondering what's going on, we've been doing this for a little bit over a month and a half now. This cash game record is producing at 28-14. 28 wins, 14 losses, 2-to-1 ratio. That means you are winning 2/3 of your contests. You only need to beat 55% of the world to be a positive player, to be a profitable player, and this is smashing that. Not many get over 70%. We're bumping right up against 70% by doing no research and by looking at nothing. We're only looking at these ownership reports. Join us, get the ownership reports for yourself, learn other techniques for tournaments and to win the big money by coming in and being a VIP at DFSArmy.com. It's super simple. Every sport, every tool, every coach, everything I mentioned earlier in the video is at your fingertips when you become a VIP. You get access to ask me questions. If you question my methodology, ask me. We'll talk about it. Come on inside. Let's make you a better player. Let's get you on the winning track. And by the way, use that 10% off coupon code while you're there. DFS Army. That all caps, one word, cram it into the coupon, get that 10% off discount. Like and subscribe the video, of course, while you're down there doing all that stuff. And come talk to me. Let's go hang out on the inside, and I'll see you guys throughout the weekend. Peace out.